Ladies and gentlemen, Carol Roth is a former investment banker, economic pro, author of The War on Small Business, and an overall brilliant chick. And it has been so long. Oh, I love your Blackhawks shirt. So cute. You will be happy, Carol, that I have been trying to, for the past 5 years, recruit Joanne into all things Chicago Bulls. And I have found out, and it's concerning, that indeed her size at the NBA store is a child medium. It is. It doesn't make me look good going there buying it, I'll tell you that much right now. When I'm in the little girls area of the NBA store, I'm getting looks.
I'm not buying for a niece. It's not weird.
I think people look at me and they're thinking the worst. I don't know. And it's not my fault I look like this.
Tough, Bill.
Huh?
And, if you buy the kid size, you usually get a discount. So I feel like we should be
right.
going with the discount here. And I have to say, Joe, I was listening to your guys' discussion before. I love how when you're paying $20, it's a vase, because if you went to the dollar store, it would have just been a vase.
Yeah.
But now that you've gone to Michael's and you've spent the extra $19, it has now become extremely fancy, and it is now a vase.
It's a vase, yes.
Well, okay, now it is not too late. So as you can obviously she's hiding it well. Joe's got some upcoming nuptials. She's doing the rebate one this weekend, and then she's got the more expensive version coming up, because yes, there's two. I'm told the second one will be the Godfather 2 weddings. But the second one is going to be next May. So she's got some time to figure out how to save some cash. I'm assuming it's all going to be dollar store suggestions you'll give her then. But Joe was talking earlier about how many people are still in debt years after the wedding. That's insane to me. Do you have any advice as far as this realm of saving money is concerned?
Yeah, I definitely think that far too many people go into debt for the one-off parties. I think the flower suggestions were great. Go to Trader Joe's, try to cut down there. From a photography standpoint, back in the old days when I was a youngin' and got married, we had to have an actual photographer because people's iPhones didn't capture things as well.
Right.
But now you have the ability to do that. We had to have a fancy band because you couldn't have a DJ that just played music. I feel like there are all of these different places to save. And then we also did kind of more like food stations, like heavy appetizers and like little food stations instead of having the sit down dinner, because sometimes those plated meals end up being really, really expensive.
Yeah.
And nobody really likes them anyway. But if you can go to, get some pasta over here and some egg rolls over here and some mac and cheese over here and an ice cream bar, everybody's super happy at the end of the day.
We recently, which I can't believe that this is not done more, we recently had on Roz Weston, the great radio and entertainment reporter in Canada, and he has, in his wedding, he's not going to have tables, like assigned tables. Where,
I did that.
Huh?
I did that. I didn't have assigned tables. I said, just sit wherever you want to sit.
That's a great idea. Why don't more people do that? Because there's always Johnny No Mates over in the corner that was a friend of a friend, and he knows that he's Johnny No Mates, and he's relegated to him and a bunch of kids or something like that. It never works out good. I even think he didn't have tables. Wasn't it just sort of like a party setting or something? I don't remember. But that was kind of good. That's a good idea.
Yeah, no, I don't have, for the May wedding, I'm not having tables. It's just a 4-hour cocktail hour.
But there's like some place for you to put your plate, right, to eat the food.
Yeah. There will be, like at a cocktail party, like tall standing tables.
Joe, I have no friends. Nobody invites me to cocktail parties. So I don't know, but I'll take your word for it.
Lounge.
They don't invite me either.
just party vibes. But what is interesting, right, to kind of bring this back, I guess, to your wheelhouse a little bit, with the market and business and whatever, people are saying that we're going through is recession the word?
So recession is 2 quarters of GDP that have contracted, that are negative. We had that in the first half of the year. The third quarter GDP is positive. So we had a technical recession. We're technically now out of it. And people are projecting that we are going back into one potentially next year.
Yeah, but you know what I think is not going to change is
Weddings.
the amount that people spend on weddings.
Although you guys were saying some things that interested me. So, for example, I think it's now probably, and again, I haven't been invited to a wedding in a while because I don't behave. But I think that it's probably now morphed from DJ to just a mix on the phone. You know, who's gonna at this point just do your own, DJ mix of all the songs you like? Save money there. I got an advice for guys out there: a black suit can easily look like a tuxedo. Just get the black bow tie. No one's the wiser, and it's a lot cheaper. Not saying I did it in many a black tie event, but yes, I did. And no one knows. And you can wear the black suit, just as a suit. It's a money saver.
The biggest money sink is actually the bride making her friends spend a ton of money. Women are awful to other women. They take the people that they call their best friends in the world, then they turn into like a dictator and say, here's what you have. Here's this really ugly dress that you're never going to wear ever again that I'm picking out to make you look fat. You're going to have to pay like a ridiculous amount of money. Here are the shoes. Come to this party. I'm doing this party out of the country because I'm so extra. I need to go here. And by the time you're done, like your friendship is now costing you like $7,000 before you even get to the wedding gift. Women, stop doing this to your friends. If you don't like them, just don't invite them at all. And if you do care, like what I did with mine is I said, just wear a black dress. That was it. That was my only instruction. That was my entire instruction. And that was it. They didn't have to do anything, and they were done. That was they show up in a black dress.
You are so right, and I sort of look at that as the way fraternities work. Because when you're being razzed and hazed, and you're going through the whole pledging process, you're so damaged by that you're like, as awful as that was, I'll be damn sure I'm going to do it to the next guy. Right. And it's a cycle that repeats itself. And so for that reason,
cycle of abuse.
Huh? Yeah, exactly. So Joanne may not necessarily want to do that to her friends, but her friends have done that to her so many times that now she feels compelled to hurt them.
It is crazy the amount I have spent on my friends.
Yeah, I know.
And I don't have a bridal party. Like we're getting married this weekend just with family and then doing a party in May. So there's no need for all of that pomp and circumstance. And even for the bachelorette party, we're not flying anywhere. Somewhere we can all drive to, and they don't have to pay for lodging. I got this place through a family member. So it's like they are really lucking out.
Yeah, you're a nice friend. See, this is what you should be doing for your good friends that you care about.
But
not saying I'm in charge.
They should remember that and give me a huge check at the wedding.
Yes. So I've been a groundbreaker on all of this stuff. That that's one of the things about me is I'm like way ahead of everybody on this. So they asked me what I wanted to register for. This was 23 years ago, and I said, well, first of all, I'm Jewish, so like we don't register for anything. We just kind of expect checks. But I don't want anything. I don't cook, so I don't need to have like formal china or anything. And what do I need? So you don't have to bring a gift, but if you want to, money's great. And a lot of people were really horrified by that. But the reality is that's a much more practical gift.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. Because it's so rare to hear the word practical and wedding in the same sentence. So anytime that can happen, I am absolutely all for it. And it seems like you're being pretty economical. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think I'm making good choices.
You're supposed to let other people say that.
Oh.
Most importantly, are you making a good choice on the mate? Because you can make really good choices on the wedding, but if the person that you're marrying isn't a good choice, then it's sort of all for naught.
You know what's funny? I asked him that very same question. I was like, Douglas, is this, were you sure about this? Is this your final answer? Joanne, okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to prep him, but...
Yeah, after 7.5 years together, I'm suddenly going to change. He did ask me that last night.
What? Oh, are you serious?
He was like, wouldn't it be really weird if after we get married, then suddenly it's whoa, you take off a mask and you're some evil, horrible person. And I'm like, why? But why would you say that? Are you afraid of that? What's going on?
And then all of a sudden it was sort of self-fulfilling prophecy, and then you started morphing into that.
Well, now it's challenge accepted.
God, we've way too much wedding stuff already. But you got some good stuff, as much as I loathe to give you compliments.
Okay, wait. I do want to talk about Jeff Bezos for a little bit here.
Do we have to?
We do.
Penis head.
He's been in the news a little bit lately, and by that I mean people have been reposting headlines on my social media that he that he recently said something like he's going to be giving away most of his wealth. I guess at the end of his life, and people are like, why can't you do it now? There's tons of layoffs at companies like Amazon, Twitter. We're seeing it across the board. Also because like we were just discussing, the global economy, we're like, what's going on? What's happening? Things are a little fragile right now.
Question of the entire world.
Oh, that was Jeff Bezos.
Oh, okay.
But he recently said, hold off on big purchases like TVs. Yes, he has urged people to put off expenditures for big ticket items such as new cars, televisions, and appliances, noting that delaying big purchases is the surest way to keep some dry powder in the event of a prolonged economic downturn. Meanwhile, small businesses may want to avoid making large capital expenditures or acquisitions during this uncertain time, Bezos added. Now, here's the thing. Saying that when you work for Amazon is strange because lots of people buy these items off of Amazon. Also, the company's stock has fallen more than 40% as surging prices and changing customer behavior weigh on Amazon and the broader tech sector. So my question to you is, why is he saying this? First of all, I don't want to hear a quabillionaire. I made that term up. Copyright. What makes him, like, why am I going to listen to him? He could buy 100,000 TVs. Like, why is he giving me money advice?
Okay, well, first of all, I think we've buried the lead here. If you watch that video, he's all like on a relative basis hot and buff now, and he's got his new partner who's also very attractive, and so he's just living the life. He's not even running Amazon anymore. He's stepped away from it, so he's locked his cash in. He's like, good luck to you, next guy. I'm gonna hang out with this hot chick, and I'm going to go to the gym, and what I'm going to go around and give people financial advice because they really want to hear about the plights of not buying a TV from like one of the richest people in the world. But as I said, I think in terms of like, the Amazon issue, that's probably why he cares less than he did before because he's not involved day to day.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's on you, sucker, to meet your quarter. That's not my problem anymore. But there are a lot of, people who are looked at as big business leaders, Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan Chase, and Carl Icahn, who's a hedge fund investor or whatnot, who are all coming out and putting out their predictions, in terms of the economy. And I think Jeff just wants to be seen as a man of the people. He really cares about the average person and the small business. He's trying to be relatable, so he's trying to give you a few pieces of financial advice, which are actually good pieces of financial advice, as opposed to some of the other people out there who are giving poor financial advice. So I don't mind. I like Jeff's transformation. I like, kind of given everything that he has going on, he said, forget it. I'm just going to go to the gym. I kind of admire that about him.
What are rich dudes that are having midlife crises? What are they using these days? I'm fascinated by this because for a long time, it trickled from professional sports into Hollywood.
Right.
HGH was the new hotness.
Right.
Steroids had bad side effects, particularly in the testicle region. But HGH seemed to have less of that. And now you're hearing everyone taking the testosterone. I'm wondering what the new hotness is, because Jeff Bezos has got it. Because it's not just working out,
I'm assuming it's like stem cells.
Well, you're not wrong.
Right?
I think that's a thing.
Potentially, it is a thing. There are all these, kind of medical clinics around that where you can get stem cells, whether it's sometimes they take your own stuff and they inject it back into you after they've spun it around in some magic machine, and then sometimes the kind of like look the other way is they like get stem cells from someplace else. We're not going to ask questions because we probably don't want to know where those are coming from. And then you just have to hope that the people who are running a special 2 shots for $3.99 are now going to be giving you like something that you should be injecting in your body. But I would imagine at that level you probably have access to more cutting edge doctors, but maybe not. Maybe, you know, it's
so
like
jealous.
the Psychic Friends Network. You know?
I'm
Who
so,
knows?
oh gosh, well, it's so funny. It's such a cliche, but it's absolutely true. All of these mega billionaires, every single one of them is investing all of their money into extending life.
Yeah.
Like whether it's any type of sciences,
Well,
even
for
making
him-
their own like actual business.
Why
and
would
the whole
they
thing
want
is,
that?
huh?
Why would they want that? Wouldn't they just want to say, "Listen, I have been around. I have seen this. This show is over. Like I'm out. I'm pulling the plug." And they're all like, "No, I really want to see what's coming up next."
No, well,
You
I
are
mean,
preaching to
he's-
the choir. I
he's
peaked at
pulling
35.
he's pulling the plug on Earth. He's like,
Yeah, you're right.
Get out of here.
Yeah, and you know, and same with Elon Musk. But Elon Musk doing the same thing, and it's all life extension, now, all those types of sciences, and it's just, and I guess that's part of how you become a billionaire. The fucking ego on these guys. What they're thinking is essentially, you know what? This world's gonna be a lot worse off without me. I better live to 200. I mean, that is definitely all they're thinking. It's not. They're not doing this for the betterment of mankind.
No. But here's like the crazy thing with the Elon Musk, you know, like Neuralink and these people who are developing these neurograins and things. So like, you know, what if you had all of your brain stuff in a chip and then you could just like pick whatever robot body you want and you didn't have to worry about like, oh, now I have to exercise or now I can't eat things or whatever. But then the question becomes, who owns your thoughts? Because it's like kind of like your cell phone, right? Like you own the phone, but you don't actually own the operating system.
That's a great
You have to
question.
store it there. So then now all of a sudden there's like some evil corporation that owns your mind. And it's really messed up stuff if you go down that rabbit hole.
You just blew my non-linked up mind.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. I have a feeling I am not going to make it to the age where that ends up becoming possible, though. I'm just assuming. The way I've been living so far. But, oh my God, crazy. But
Yeah.
now he's going to be able to take some of our advice for his next wedding.
Oh, well, yeah, he's watching. But speaking
He'll be going with the vases.
Yeah, a dollar store, eh? I didn't even know they sold vases there.
It'd be amazing if he shopped at Dollar General. Like, it would
them do
make
that
my
shit.
day. But speaking of small business owners, as I guess he tried to, what are plans that they should have in place for the next coming months going into the next year? Are there actual, like, things that they should be concerned about economy-wise, steps they should take? What do you recommend?
Yeah, I recommend a lot of prayer and faith in God as a first step. You know, the small business owners have been completely screwed over. You know, they were the first and the most hardest hit in terms of all of these lockdowns. They didn't get a fraction of the relief funds, you know, when it comes to all of the cheap capital that the big businesses got, you know, loans that they could take out at like 1%. If you're a small business, you're personally guaranteeing that. So you don't have that same ability to use that. So now all of these big competitors are well funded. They screwed up the supply chains. They screwed up the labor market. Like there isn't an area where small business just like hasn't taken one punch after another. I think that, you know, for small businesses, if you are looking at your customer base and you have the ability to focus on customers who are more well off, those are the ones who are going to have more spending power as we get into next year. The average consumer has the lowest personal saving rate that we've seen since the Great Recession financial crisis and historic credit card debt load at increasing interest rates. So personal balance sheets, you know, across the board aren't great, but the people who are the wealthiest, surprise, surprise, are doing well. So I think if you can think about products and services that you can extend into that realm, I would be thinking about that. Certainly, if you have any ability to pre-sell, so not take on inventory, but do things where you take pre-orders and then fulfill those orders, you know, that's going to help, you know, both with your cash flow as well as not being stuck with a bunch of inventory that may not move. And, you know, so anything that you can do to sort of lock in, you know, good pricing now with vendors that you trust will still be in business. You know, people are looking at entrepreneurial solutions. If you're a small business owner, you're entrepreneurial. So look at every aspect of your revenues and expenses and see where you can get creative there.
What would be, and I'll tell you what, I know the answer is not going to be New York and more specifically New York City. But what, if anywhere, in the United States currently is the ideal area for a small business owner to live and start a small business? What's the most friendly state or town you
Yeah.
can think of that is actually great for an entrepreneur?
I think it depends on the type of small business, and that's one of the challenges that we have is, there are 32.6 million small businesses that account for about half the economy, about half the
That's
GDP, about
crazy.
half the jobs, which is, it blows everyone's mind. People think that it's this small piece and it's like half the economy, but it varies so widely. It's people who go and support trade shows versus, retail outlets versus accountants and all these different types of businesses. So it does really depend on what your business is, vis-a-vis the size, the geography, and all those kinds of things. But certainly, some of the redder states have been more friendly. Although a state like Florida, which you would think would be more business friendly, they put a measure on the ballot and people voted to increase the minimum wage there. So there's always some sort of pullback. The same thing with Texas. You would think Texas is friendly, but we saw a small business owner get thrown in jail for opening up her hair salon during the pandemic. So, any place that, has government is going to have some set of barriers. But I do think, some of the red states are better. But then again, you may not have the traffic you need if you're looking to have a high traffic kind of consumer facing business. If I were starting something today, I would be staying away from something that relies on retail and foot traffic and something that is a little bit more flexible in terms of, your workforce. I think that, those are sort of the levers that you can pull to be more successful. And if there's a way to transform some of your business, we saw some of the restaurants go to more, carry out and delivery types of things, or even some of them that are selling their products directly. Like I buy table 87 pizzas from Brooklyn and have them shipped through Goldbelly because, we love those. So those kinds of things to diversify and protect your business and to build that, competitive advantage around it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also to your point, as far as delivering all that stuff, I mean, God, every month we have a new version of this very same story. But I do have, let's see, this was in, our good friends at Talker.
Oh, nice.
They do all our polls for us. About 2 in 5 Americans say they're living the dream with remote work, while less than 1 in 10 wish to work on location full time. I'm sure those numbers have increased over the past 3 years. Poll, wait for it, 2,000 people.
Always.
They always pull 2,000. They revealed that the reasons that they like working from home are as follows. 42% said that it helped them to build their dream schedule, which probably means not a lot of working. And it would opt for mostly remote work with occasional days in office, which that would be ideal. Respondents would also much more likely to choose an entirely remote schedule, 26%. Than entirely on location, only 9%. In reality, the majority, 39%, work remote most of the time with occasional days in office, and almost 1/4 still work entirely remotely. From what, I guess we're kind of out of the pandemic now. At least we're pretending like we are. What's the future hold for all of this? I mean, it does seem to me that we were headed this way anyway, and the pandemic only put all of that on fast forward.
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, it really depends what you do for a living. There are people who don't have the ability to work remotely. If you're somebody who's cutting hair or working in a restaurant or cleaning an office building, like you can't do that from your home. If you're sitting at home, there's, a robot or another person who's doing that job for you. So, I think a lot of times we talk about these things and we forget that there's a cadre of people who don't have, any ability to do that. And we need to take that into account. I also think for younger people, not having the opportunity to be in the office, make relationships, get that mentoring is really a challenge at the beginning of the career. It's potentially not as much of an issue in some industries later in the career when you have all of those, pieces established. And if you're spending a lot of time at work, that's the only place that you're really meeting people and, making relationships and having communication. So I think it's a bad trend from a human standpoint, a connection standpoint. But we are, lazy and entitled as Americans. And so, like you said, people want to either not work or have, multiple jobs, or like me, wear the Blackhawks sweatshirt, as much as possible.
I'm not wearing pants and I'm in studio.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think more people should take a cue from you and just, take what they like about working from home and bring that out into the real world. But it also, does help, from cut down a commute. But we've seen productivity in America just go down and down. So it's pretty clear that the people who are not like, oh, well, I'm saving all this time on the commute, so I'm just going to like double down on the work. That's not happening. And we're going to be shifting a little bit, as most likely we go into this next recession, where there aren't going to be as many jobs open. And I think that the leverage that the workers have in a lot of industries is going to go back to the people who are in charge. And that's going to change the tenor. But long term, we do have a mismatch. We have people who are retiring. We don't have enough people coming into the workforce. So I do think that we will start to see some remote work be more, a part of the future than perhaps it was in the past.
So you're saying we should exterminate old people? Unbelievable, Carol.
That's not my plan. That's the rest of the world's plan. Why do you think they have these diseases that only impact the old people that they were engineering? Too many old people on Social Security and, in the Chinese system. I'm not saying this is actually true. This is just, me hypothesizing.
I will make sense. I hated bats before all of this, but the one thing that we do stories on all the time too is like you want to see the future of a rapidly aging country as far as ours is concerned. Look at Japan. I mean, it is just all old people and very few young people now, and it's getting worse and worse.
In Japan, don't they respect their elders a little bit more than we do?
They do.
They do.
They do.
Yeah.
China's actually a huge problem. They're going from one of the fastest birth rates in the world to amongst the slowest. And so their dynamic is going to change. And that one child policy that they have, particularly with the fact that they ended up with so many male child and nobody to procreate with, that demographic thing is a disaster that not enough people are talking about.
That's so true.
Having a bunch of dudes that can't find mates, at mating age is never a good thing for stability in a country either.
You are so right. Well, so much to look forward to. You could have picked a better time to get married and then therefore reproduce.
No.
Carol, I can't thank you enough. I'm going to bug you tonight for some possible December dates. We'd love to have you back.
Yay!
But before, tell everyone why we should buy the book, where we can get it, all that good stuff.
All right, so buy the book, not only to figure out what's going on and support small businesses, but this is really about capitalism. This is about decentralization versus central control and power. And it's going to blow your mind. A lot of things that you think happened very differently over the last couple of years. We've lived through the biggest wealth transfer in history. It's only going to get worse. And if you want to really walk the talk, go and buy it from a small business bookseller. If you go to bookshop.org, you can buy it online and they will fulfill from a local small business bookseller. Or if you want to help Jeff Bezos' fortune and have him get whatever stem cells or HGHs or whatever he's getting to look so fine, you could also buy it there too.
It's funny you mention that, because the capitalism part, because Joanne has this ongoing thing where she says she writes books. We've never seen them. There are hastily made graphics of them. But
seen the covers of these books.
These are graphics that I believe Fifen has made.
Remember, I wrote the book Capitalism ?
Yeah, she had one of her books. There we are. Yeah, and and again, let's use a lot of air quotes here. But one of her books, Capitalism. I don't know if it's too late for you to trademark this, but if you'll notice, she also got real clever with the S there. She's
with the dollar sign. That's a new one that I've never seen before.
Yeah, she's quite the thinker. That's some more air quotes for you. Well, thank you so much, Carol. That was great.
Thank you, guys. Super fun. Great to see you.
Great seeing you.
Go Blackhawks.
Go Blackhawks. I should. That's what I need to do. I need to be a hockey fan.
Hockey.
Hockey, yes. I know. I need to focus on them.